Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's Women in Tech uAsk of 2021. Becca and I are really glad to have you today and ask you questions submitted by our community from all around the world. So we should probably maybe get started with introducing ourselves, maybe our roles. So Tara, we can start with you.
Sure. Yeah. So hi everyone. I'm Tara Ziegler. So my role, I'm the director of testing services for sort of focusing on IoT, but my team handles a lot of other stuff too. So I have a team of 6 test architects who report up to me. And additionally, I also oversee some projects as well. Just a little bit on my background. I joined the uTest community back in 2011. And have had kind of a wide variety of roles.
Wow, I didn't know that actually. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's been a very exciting time to be affiliated with the organization. It's been a lot of fun. So, that's me. I don't know if you want me to talk about anything else in particular there, but introduction.
No, we have like other questions related to that. So
cool.
Right. And I am Michelle Espinosa. I'm also Director of Testing Services, and my focus is on AI and machine learning. I have a team of 3 TAs who work on usability, security, emerging market, and accessibility testing. And I've been with uTest since 2015, so yeah, 6 years.
Well, Becca and I are both community managers. I joined in November of 2019. And yeah, I'm based here in Berlin, but actually I've moved recently, so I'm fully working remotely now, but still within Germany.
Yep, I'm also a community manager. My name is Becca Carroll. I've been with the company since 2016. As I started out as an intern, and then I became full-time in 2018. I help with a lot of major customers, like voice testing and streaming.
Okay, so I think we can go straight to the questions that we have. So first we have Katie from the UK. She is asking, what was your main motivation for working in the technology field?
Yeah, I can start. So for me, I've always been interested in computers and sort of tinkering and having fun with them, going back to being a kid. I think we got our first computer when I was in 6th grade, something like that. I'm probably a little older than many of the people in the community. But yeah, so that was my kind of introduction. And then I never did it professionally. But I was kind of looking for a change again right around 2011, and came across uTest through kind of a April Fool's joke promotion thing that was kind of fun, and I was like, oh, this is interesting, because like a lot of the stuff that I was doing for fun was kind of testing anyway. I had friends who were developers, and I would try things out, but that was the first time I saw like, oh, this could be a job where they give me money. So that's what kind of got me into it. But yeah, it's just kind of an interest I've always had.
I always wanted to work in tech, but I did not want to leave. I like being near my family also, so I didn't want to move to Silicon Valley or Boston or any of the other kind of hotbeds for tech. So when I discovered uTest, it was like a dream come true. You get to work with all these different tech companies and from the comfort of your home, and just been here ever since.
Next question from Philip from Germany. Did you always know that working in technology was what you wanted to do?
No, for me, definitely not. Yeah, I always knew I liked it, but no, I actually, through much of school and the beginning of college, I thought I was going to be a high school band director.
Wow, that's quite a change.
Oh, wow.
A little different. Yeah, I thought that was the route I was going to go. And then I was in a decent program that put me in front of kids right in that first year. And I'm like, oh, no, this isn't going to work at all. not for me. So no, so I didn't know, and I've done retail, I've done sales in different things, and kind of tried different things out. So no, it really wasn't until I started, doing the uTest stuff on the side, and then that kind of built from there, that I discovered, like, yeah, this is my passion. This is what I want to do.
For me, I've been all over the map. At one point, I wanted to be a civil rights attorney. At another point, I wanted to be a veterinarian.
Oh, wow.
I landed in tech. So, yeah, this seems to be where I landed and at this point in life. And yeah, I'm happy here. So.
Yeah, I always joke around though about the origin story of a lot of people in some form of QA or another is a journey through a lot of.
It seems like it.
You kind of wander into it. There aren't a lot of like college majors for QA or things like that. So yeah, it's always fun to hear people's stories.
Yeah, maybe not yet.
I've noticed that a lot in the Spotlight articles. A lot of people did not start out in tech, so it's really cool to see.
Yeah. In Jessica's interview, she said that she studied like something with like forensics or something, criminology, and like, wow, it's crazy.
Yeah, no, I've seen a real range, so that's pretty neat.
So our next question is from Anne in Sweden, and she is asking what a typical day looks like for you.
So I have the bad habit of checking Slack first thing in the morning. So usually I'm checking messages and emails overnight while I drink my morning coffee. Then I disappear until 8 and respond to folks kind of in the order of priority. Once things kind of quiet down a little bit, the meeting marathons begin, and in and out of meetings throughout the day. There's so many little things come up throughout the day. It's almost difficult to describe where the day went. By the time the evening gets here, I have no idea what I did for the last 10 hours. But again, I think it's a variety that keeps it interesting, and just so many different projects moving different directions at once. And yeah. So
both of you are directors of testing services. Do you work a lot together, or do you manage separate teams?
Separate teams. We communicate throughout the day. Yeah. We work in tandem on a lot of stuff.
Yeah. We have I would say we have a good collaboration among the directors, and then our senior director and VP. All kind of, we work together, and there's a lot of like org-wide initiatives and stuff that we're a part of. And then of course we're also working a lot with our counterparts over in the sales and SDM side. So it's definitely we definitely have our own areas and our own people that we're working with, and then there's some of the collaborative stuff that happens higher up.
Oh, sorry, Becca, you go.
This question is from Hannah in Russia. It is a 3-part question. What are the obvious materials that I should learn? Do you have any recommendations on how to improve my professional skills? And do you have any tips on how to organize your working schedule?
So for professional skills, it just kind of depends on the stuff you want to focus on and where you want to build. So obviously, like, within our own website and our own academy, there's a lot of, God, compared to when I started, there's so much more built out. in terms of resources, we've come a long way. So there's definitely some good stuff there, and I've seen a lot of good kind of collaborative discussion, on some of the posts on the website and things like that. You can definitely kind of learn from each other. But yeah, depending on the stuff that you want to go after, there's a ton of different sites that have webinars and online learning for different things. I've definitely leveraged some of that, some certain different websites for learning different testing skills. So yeah, so there's a lot of stuff out there. In terms of organization, for me, I depend very heavily on various Google Suite tools that we use, like calendar and keeping up with that. And I'm all over my my to-do list. Use Todoist personally, but there's a ton of different apps out there for just kind of keeping track of everything, because otherwise, if I don't write it down, it's gone. So yeah.
So are you more digital or analog with writing things down?
Digital, yeah. I tried to do analog, especially if I have like in-person meetings, and then obviously I don't want to have the computer out. I want to write things down. But in day-to-day, it's digital for me, because I need to be able to have it on my phone, my computer, wherever.
There's a saying, don't be good at anything that you don't want to do. So the converse is true also. So find what you're passionate about and just, go all in. Like, you don't necessarily have to, if you have an interest in, learning construction or just something like that. We have customers who build apps targeted towards the construction industry, and you can learn a lot just indirectly by in the course of testing an app out. Look up vocabulary that you don't know, look up terms. If there are tech skills you want to learn, there are plenty of free videos on YouTube. Sign up for something on Coursera. Just try and pull your knowledge and lessons from a variety of resources. Kind of like take what applies and let the rest go. And then as far as organization, I am a bad one for to ask, because I can I'm not very good at the work-life balance piece, but I use the Reminders app on iOS. I have the Remarkable Cube, which is like an e-ink tablet that I use for taking notes and kind of keeping track of everything. And I think as long as you're passionate about what you do on a daily basis and you're constantly, trying to develop yourself and learn more, I think that it's just a good route to go in life.
I can definitely relate with having scattered like notes around. I tend to keep them in like one place, whether that is one document or one notepad, but it can be like everywhere. But I know to look in one specific place. But I've heard people talk about an app or website called Notion that they say is really good with to-do lists or just all this stuff. So maybe that could help.
Yeah, I've heard that one mentioned too. I was actually just looking at a thread about this yesterday. It's so funny that you mentioned it. But I think there's a lot of trial and error too, because you really have to find something different works for each person. Like I want to say my husband uses he uses his inbox basically as his to-do list. He just leaves things in his mail inbox, and for me that would stress me out. Cannot stay there; they have to go. So so it's just have to try different things.
Our next question is from Daphne from the UK. She's asking, I'm considering to enter the tech field as a full-time employee. I have a background in business, but I don't think I'm interested in sales. How can I get started? What are my options?
Yeah, I think like it again kind of depends on think about, like Michelle alluded to, like what are you passionate about? What are you excited about? What kind of you could think about kind of like what that ideal role would be. So we've talked about, kind of looking at online resources and different ways you can learn. Another thing that can be really helpful if you can think about like what that ideal kind of role might be, informational interviews. So, find some folks, you can find them through LinkedIn, you may be able to find them through other connections. I definitely did this when I was first getting into tech and thinking about doing QA more as a full-time thing. Set up 30 minutes with somebody who's working a job that you would really like to do. Ask them about how they got into it, things like that. So that was really helpful to me. And people love talking about themselves in a lot of cases. So it's really not too hard, especially when they know you don't have another agenda, you just want to learn. Also local meetups for the kinds of roles that you're interested in. Obviously during COVID, that's been harder, but that's another option.
That's great advice.
Yeah, along those lines, so business is like the Swiss Army knife of industries. You can work in any industry, and those skills are needed somewhere. So find a company that you're interested in what they do, and pick a role. If you want to get into the tech industry or the tech world, it doesn't necessarily have to be through the front door. You can take a side door. Project management skills are pretty high demand. Marketing, sales, really just anything that where you have a decent skill level, apply for that role, and then move towards and look for options to move closer to what it is that you truly want to do there. And you can learn, you might discover something else that you're passionate about along the way. So that would be my advice.
Next up is Marco from Brazil. His question is about his wife. He says, my wife is in the know in the world of technology, but she needs advice to be able to improve even more. What direction should she follow in order to succeed in the world we're living in now?
I think a lot of it kind of comes back to some similar stuff in terms of figuring out kind of the thing you want to tackle. And obviously we're gearing this towards the community. Getting started in the uTest community is a great way to try things out. So if she's not already doing that, definitely an option to consider. But yeah, I would say the stuff we've talked about in terms of kind of thinking about what you want to do and the way you'd want to way you want to grow.
Yeah, I think also many people think that they need to have some sort of background in technology, like a bachelor or a master's or something, to get into the tech world, but that's really not the case. There are like different roles that you can work, but there are also seminars or like boot camp courses that last a few months that you can take. So that can definitely be valuable.
Yeah, there's so many options and so many resources now. Yeah, I think I could definitely see people do get hung up on that. And even when you're looking at kind of entry level jobs that are out there and you see like, oh, they're looking for a bachelor's degree in a certain computer field or equivalent. A lot of times equivalent can be a lot of different things. So don't kind of count yourself out of those roles right off the bat because you don't have the degree. There are other ways you can get there, and a lot of the things that you mentioned are exactly that.
Yeah, it seems like if you're after coding skills, like find something that you problem you want to solve and code your way out of it. Just build projects, do a lot of the stuff, independent research. Academic papers are kind of a prime source of where the industry's headed. Textbooks are kind of where the industry is or was. So definitely focus more towards academic journals to see kind of what's coming up in the industry of interest to you. And CES every year, that's like my one of these days I'm going to go. But yeah, you can see all the latest tech coming out, see all the companies out there. You'll discover even a lot of startups that you've never heard of. And there's just a lot of interesting ideas out there.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff too. I mean, there's not a whole lot of bright spots during our time of COVID, but there are a lot more virtual events. A lot of stuff that may not have been accessible before, is available. So that's another kind of avenue for getting some of this information.
Yeah. Also, I've seen many like one of those seminars or boot camps are turning into virtual online classes instead of on campus. So you definitely have way more options to do it from home.
Yeah, there's a ton more.
I myself have been to a few online conferences this year, more than I ever had been beforehand. So it was really nice to be able to do something that would have taken place in like California or something before.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I did that. I was supposed to be going to an in-person conference right at the beginning of all of this, an in-person conference. I don't know if we can mention specific conferences, but Test Bash, which is Ministry of Testing runs it. So I was all excited, and I was like, and then of course it got canceled. But they've done some in-home stuff, and I was surprised how much I got out of it and enjoyed it. And in some ways, like the virtual is kind of nice too, because you have dialogue usually going with people like in Slack or something while it's going on. And in some ways, there's more interaction. There's more discussion. So so that's definitely something to certainly check out.
So our next question is from Johannes in Germany. Having already been in the tech field for a few years, what soft or hard skills do you think are important to possess?
So soft skills, communication is the big one for me. So that's very broad. To kind of zero in a little bit more, written communication in particular is something that I think a lot of people, can have trouble with. Something to definitely focus on. I think to try to improve, just because especially whether it's emails back and forth or chat messages or bug reports. If you're focusing on the testing, like being able to express yourself clearly, just super important. So that's one that I would definitely emphasize in the soft skills side.
Yeah, I think the hard skills are a dime a dozen in the industry. Soft skills tend to be in higher demand and more difficult to find. So I'd say communication skills number one, interpersonal skills, conflict resolution, and yeah, I mean I think if you can Google it, you can teach yourself anything that you need to know in a hard skill department.
Yep.
So our next question is from Rebecca in the UK. She says, one great thing about applause, in my opinion, is that I've never felt second best or less enabled as a woman. I have, however, felt that in previous jobs. I am curious of your own experience. Have you ever felt in past roles that you had to battle to get further than or even equal to your male counterparts?
Yeah, I haven't felt it in technology necessarily. I mean, I think probably what I've felt more is just I'm very accustomed to being the only woman in a meeting. So that does happen, dealing with, certain, especially some of our customers and things when I'm in the customer meetings and like, look, it's a lot of dudes. So, it's just, you have to kind of get used to it. But I've been pretty fortunate. I will say in sales though, when I was in that role before, some of the stuff that I was doing there, absolutely. I was doing like grocery sales, so very different than technology, but it ended up being kind of one of those things where sometimes I would feel like my opinion was not as valued as some of my counterparts or other vendors that I had to be working alongside. So so it's a bbig challenge. I will say that that was for me like basically a decade ago at this point. And things, I feel like things have improved, but there's still a way to go. Visibility, getting out there, getting more women out there, I think is definitely helping though.
Yeah, I think it's not a problem that's restricted to gender. I think it just happens anywhere in life. There's always going to be somebody else who lifts themselves up by stepping on you. And I think one of the key lessons is just to not give anybody else the power to let you or make you feel less than anything. Because at the end of the day, we're all capable human beings. And, our advancement should be based on merit. And, I don't know necessarily that there's any industry where you're going to be able to escape those dynamics. So I think just kind of building on your internal strength and confidence is the route to go, and let your worth speak for itself.
Mm-hmm. Really.
So our next question is from Deborah from Brazil. It's a two-part question. She asks, what are the biggest difficulties that women face when competing for a technology position in the job market, and what do you wish you had known?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had exactly that experience, so I can't totally speak to it, but I do think, honestly, again, that I agree with Michelle on this some too, where I think that there's challenges sometimes regardless of gender, and then there can be other situations, where you can run into sort of similar challenges. But I think that, one of the things, I kind of alluded to this before, not counting yourself out. And I've definitely read plenty of stories about this too. A lot of women are less likely to apply for roles than their male counterparts. And I've even had some of these discussions too with some friends. some guys who told me about jobs they're applying for, and on paper, absolutely, they don't qualify, but they're like, yeah, I'll give it a go, and I put my best foot forward. And I've even found myself sometimes, falling into this like, should I even bother? It's like I don't have exactly what they're listing. So I that's a big thing to me, is like take a chance. Take a chance, like, take a risk. Be okay too with like maybe being turned down. If you're gonna be, if you want to be successful, you're gonna hear a no a lot along the way. So you have to kind of get used to that, be okay with it, and be okay with not immediately being good at something. So, but you have to develop, you're going to make some mistakes. So that, again, based on kind of what I've understood about, challenges for women in tech, I think that's something that we have to focus on and be ready to tackle.
I think kind of building on what Tara said, is just building on your probabilities. So if you try 100 times, you're more likely to get one win out of that than if you don't try at all, or if you only try once. So, just build yourself back up, get up and try again. Go after what you want. Everything's a sacrifice in life. So if you really want to go, towards, I don't know, engineering or another role in the tech field, like just throw yourself into it and, be prepared for a lot of rejection along the way. But on the way, you're going to become more resilient, and you'll eventually get where you want to go.
Yeah.
So our next question is, would our world be different if more women worked in STEM?
It's an interesting question.
I don't know. I think it's always good. It's always good to have I don't know about different, but it's a good thing. It should happen. A diversity of life experiences and viewpoints and all of those things to me, it's always better. So yeah. I'm always excited to see more women getting into it.
Yeah, I think diversity in thought is always a good thing. I mean, that's always going to transform any industry or any think tank. I've seen it even here at Applause with kind of an increase of women in leadership positions. And I've seen, kind of a shift in the dynamics and the communication styles. And of course, there's always going to be an adjustment, but I think it's for the better. And, out of conflict comes growth. So, the more diversity of thought you can get into any situation, the greater idea that will emerge, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think that, and that's very general, obviously, but I think women lead and think more with empathy. And in the STEM world, I think being able to kind of look at different perspectives or maybe feel the other side can be beneficial. Whether you're like doing, I don't know, tests or if you're engineering something. But yeah.
Yeah, I think also the diversity goes outside of just gender.
Yes.
Race, nationality, more diversity is always better. I totally agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. The communication styles can be different. The life experiences are different. And that organizations are always going to benefit from that.
Exactly. So our next question is from Karen in Brazil. Who is your biggest role model and why?
You got some good questions. They're challenging. All right. Well, this is cliche. I already know it's a cliche answer, but it's my mom.
Yeah.
You might see that. I'm just kidding. She just growing up, and actually in some ways too, the way I've kind of gone about my career, over the course of her career, she was a nurse. She got into different areas there. She got into accounting. She got into computers. She learned how to build computers in our early middle age. I mean, just taking on all of these different interesting challenges. And I think me growing up and watching that was hugely beneficial to me in kind of knowing that that I can tackle different stuff and learn different things at any point in my life. So yeah, it's got to be my mom.
I love my mom too.
Yeah, me too.
I'll pick your mom, Michelle.
It's really hard to narrow down like just one role model. It's just like I've been fortunate to have just so many people in my life, throughout the years who in one way or another has kind of paved the way for me or shown me something new. So yeah, it's really, really hard to narrow it down to one person, but definitely have to give props to my mom and my grandma. So yeah.
So we just have a few more questions, a bit more general. So another person for Brazil, Maria, is asking, the tech world is always innovating, so being up to date with the latest technology is important. Are there any seminars/courses that we should be aware of?
I mean, I think we've alluded to some stuff already in terms of different resources and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I made mention of Ministry of Testing. That's one of my go-tos for different kind of courses and webinars and things. They have a lot of diverse viewpoints too. So I'll kind of plug them as a place to kind of get more education and stuff on tech and QA.
Yeah, I'd say industry conferences. Again, there are so many different topics and fields just within tech itself. So find, if I'll just give myself an example. I'm into information systems, so I'm part of the IIS organization, and I get invitations to their conferences and access to all the journals associated with the IIS. So find whatever organization or interest group in your industry that you're after, and that's probably the best place to keep yourself informed of anything, any changes coming down the pipeline.
Mm-hmm. Any news outlets or websites that you would recommend?
So from what I've mentioned, it depends on the ones, the kind of the stuff that you're excited about. But I mean, for industry news, I mean, I'm keeping up with all of the kind of major ones like Wired and CNET and all of those, to just kind of keep up with what's going on with tech. So yeah, I mean, there's just an enormous amount, depending on your interest.
I'd say another one, the Wall Street Journal. So
yeah, they have good tech coverage. That's a good one.
yeah, they the investors want to be informed of what's going on, so that's a great place to find out new tech, about new startups. Popular Mechanics, that's another one. In my curated Apple News list there, and they always have some pretty neat articles. And BuzzFeed, Wired, CNET.
I think sometimes even LinkedIn can be like a good source, depending on the people that you follow. Maybe opinion pieces, and yeah.
Yeah, their content, I feel like over time it's improved. I mean, there's a lot of promotional content too, so there's a lot of that kind of stuff. But I've seen some really interesting stuff, and I've also seen some really interesting discussions. So what you can do is you can find if there are professional organizations or other things, other publications. You can go on LinkedIn and see if they have groups associated with them, and that's a good way to get content and also to potentially network.
Our next question is from John from the US. He says, what technology trends are you predicting in the coming years?
So as I mentioned with my role, one of my focuses is going to be around IoT, and in part just because we've just seen a ton of demand for testing in that area. It's only growing, and in hardware that I would have never imagined. If you had asked me even just several years ago, are there going to be smart water faucets? It was a thinking about. That's crazy. Why would you have a smart water faucet? So I am expecting to see only more of that over time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually reading an article this morning that the idea was that human augmented AI, or augmenting humans with AI, was an inevitable future. I don't know what that's necessarily going to look like, but I mean, they're talking as far as like implanting chips to like, you know, heighten your sight, your smell, your hearing. You know, kind of almost like a little Siri inside your mind. You know, like feeding you information. There's some crazy stuff. I mean, in the context of the article is that this is, you know, a national defense, but I could see it obviously, you know, taking off in the consumer industry as well.
Wow. I can't wait to learn more about that. That sounds really fun.
I can see some thorny testing situations associated with that stuff.
We're going to have some interesting ones. It's only going to get more interesting. For
sure.
You think like most things have been invented, but then there's always something new, like the way we pay for things, how it used to be, and now how it is with contactless, and now people are moving to crypto, and then what's going to come after that.
Yep.
Who knows?
Developing very quickly.
So our next question is from Laura in Brazil. What are some tips on succeeding as a software tester on uTest?
It's a great question. I would say, first of all, just participate. Get out there. Check the listings. If you're not getting a lot of cycle invites, check the listings. You know, see what's out there. Biggest thing when it comes to when you're dealing with your test cycles, carefully read your scope of instructions. Make sure you're totally clear on it before you get started. Don't rush ahead, and think about, you know, how you're reporting your bugs. In terms of like a specific thing, if I could only pick one, research, practice, learn about writing good bug reports. A good bug report title, good you know, steps to reproduce, all of that stuff. It sounds really simple, but it's actually pretty challenging to really get it right. It took me a lot of practice. We have some resources in the academy. There's also just tons of stuff online, but yeah, that is what's going to set you apart. That's what's going to get you those higher value bugs, and that's what's going to get you up in the ratings. So yeah, that's something I would focus on.
Yeah, I think the bug report writing aspect can't be emphasized enough. It's like the key thing. Something you could maybe do to improve your own bug reports is go through other testers' bug reports, see if you can reproduce the issues, like follow it like a recipe, and find where people tend to make assumptions that the reader will know, you know, what screen you're looking at, or this and that, and improve your own bug reports based on that. I think another one is being responsive and active in cycles. So, you know, reach out to the TTL with questions, TEs on the project, you know, and you know, if they're looking for somebody to volunteer for something, you know, be the first to raise your hand. And I think that's the best way to kind of get noticed and work your ways up through the ranks that you test.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I think Becca and I, both as community managers, always recommend to complete the academy training, especially if you're a new tester, but also in general, be respectful, be nice to the community, because we have had cases of like good testers, but they're kind of maybe sometimes rude or arrogant to the TTLs or to the team, and that can not lend you some test cycles in the end.
Yeah, I think because of kind of the nature of, especially when you first get started at uTest, it's, you know, I mean, and it's meant to be like a little casual when you get started, and it's good. You can get into it, you get started right away, and you can learn as you go. That's all awesome. What you always do have to remember in how you're communicating, exactly as you said, need to be respectful, and remember that this is, you're in a professional context. So think about how you would communicate in a job in representing yourself professionally and apply that to all of your communications across uTest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a large community, but a small one at the same time. So follow the golden rule and you should be okay. But
yeah, and as you move up, it gets smaller. It gets smaller as you get more noticed more, which is great. But it also puts a little more pressure on you, and just making sure you're keeping up with that. But it's more fun. It's more fun to be respectful and to communicate well, and you're gonna make great connections here if you do that.
Definitely. So another question from Megan in the US. So all of us have shifted to working from home in the past year. Has working from home affected your confidence?
I've never worked in an office, so
so no.
In all seriousness, it's really funny. My entire career, I worked in retail for a bit, so that was in a place, but I had a travel job and then I worked from home. So for me, no, it hasn't. But I mean, I think it's definitely some of our folks who were working in one of our offices. I think it's it's been an adjustment, and again, like understanding how to kind of communicate with everybody and present yourself well and all of that. So yeah, so I definitely could see where it's been a real adjustment for folks.
And so I've also worked from home for the last several years. Prior to that, I was in an office. Ironically, the whole COVID thing, even though I'm still working from home, has made me sort of miss an office setting. So yeah, it's one of those weird things to come out of the pandemic, I think. But yeah, I mean, as far as everything else has been business as usual. But
yeah, it's funny about that. I felt it too, because I've never worked regularly in the office, but I was visiting. Like, I would get out to our home office a few times a year, and obviously I haven't been able to do that. So I have missed that outlet. I'm looking forward to being able to visit folks again.
Yeah, definitely. Mara and I were both in offices before the pandemic, so it's definitely been an adjustment. I used to love being able to turn around and talk to people, like in my row or in the office. And I definitely talked to a little bit less people than I did before. So
yeah.
Yeah, I think we at Applause have had to come up with a variety of ways to keep people connected, and our folks and people ops and stuff have had their work cut out for them when it comes to that. But they've done a good job.
Yes, they have. So last question from Anthony and Croatia. What do you like most about the Applause and uTest culture?
There must be a lot. I've been here for 10 years. So. I've just loved the opportunity. When I signed up for this way back, I didn't really know what I was getting into. I thought I was gonna get to play on my iPhone 3GS. There we go. I did really well with that phone, by the way. I made that thing last. But report some bugs, play with some apps. But yeah, I mean, it's just been so much more than that. So many things, even just during my period as a tester, so many different opportunities for different kinds of projects and different kinds of roles popped up. So yeah, it's just been the variety of opportunities.
Yeah, I'd say for me, the variety is, just the best thing in the world. Like I can take it bored quickly, but yeah, it's kind of, I can't imagine working on the same thing day after day after day. So being able to kind of bounce around across projects, customers, it's just a dream to me. So I variety, number one, and then number two is just the community feel. I think in testing services, there's just a strong bond among a lot of the teams here, and I think that's just been another kind of added bonus to the Applause culture.
With that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, it's probably knowing the impact that we're doing, even if it maybe feels small, like in the grand scheme of things, maybe like working with the clients and kind of just oh my god, I blanked. It's the end of the day for me. I'm sorry. It's like but yeah, knowing like we're working with all these brands and helping with their digital products, and me as a community manager seeing that happening, and then from the tester side, like knowing that they helped accomplish something, I think it's really nice. And from the applause side, I really like working. I really like the team, and appreciate the work-life balance even during COVID times. So that is, I mean, it's really important to me. And I come from an advertising agency where there was no work-life balance. So I really appreciate our HR team.
Yeah, I second everything that everyone just said. And in addition, I really love the amount of trust that Applause and uTest has in the people that do the work. Like within my team, I feel completely trusted by my managers, and the amount of trust that we put in our uTesters is huge. Until if we break it, then that's gone. But we start out really well.
Okay, well, I think we reached the end of our questions. Thank you both, Tara and Michelle, for making the time and joining us on this uAsk. We are hoping to have more in the future. And again, for the people that are watching us right now, we have still some articles for women in tech coming out till the end of the month. We got 2 contests, and yeah. Thank you, everybody, and I wish you a good rest of your day.